Hi, it's George here from EcoFounder TV, and today I'm joined with Thomas Marsh. Tom, as he likes to be known, is a leading researcher in the field of fracking and wastewater treatment. He recently completed some research on flowback water treatment, and today Tom is going to share with us some insights about fracking and talking about some new technologies within the field.
Yep.
Welcome to the show, Tom.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Right, so fracking.
Well, Tom, why don't we start by just giving us a quick description of the engineering processes behind natural gas fracking.
Okay, so
I know that in our audience there's a few people that probably aren't aware of the processes, so go ahead there.
Yeah, well, fracking is basically, it's not a brand new technology, it's been around for quite a while, but they call it an unconventional mining technique because basically rather than drilling directly down into the ground, you drill directly down and then round, so that way you have access to a lot more of the natural gas underneath there. So what they do is they drill down in this unconventional technique and then they force water mixed in with different chemicals and propellants, stuff that keep the cracks open. So you have like lubricants and anti-bacterial stuff so they don't grow down there. And you force the water down into these cracks, force them open, and then the natural gas is leaks back in through to the pipe, and then you bring it all back up, the water and the gas, and then you get access to this huge, vast amount of natural gas that they keep in the shale formations underneath the ground. It's a much deeper technology than most fracking mining technologies, like a lot deeper. So to access that, you have to go very, very deep.
How deep are we talking, Tom?
Roughly about 10,000 meters.
Wow.
I think.
So it's considerably deeper than your traditional sort of mining.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Now, from what I understand, there's a healthy sort of debate going on between pro-fracking and anti-fracking.
Yeah, sure.
What are the key participants in this debate at the moment?
Okay, well, I was more focused on the British side of things because in America itself right now, it's full swing. As in, like, there's fracking going on all over the country, especially on the northwest part of the US where the big Marcellus Shales areas are.
Right.
So England is more of the area where there's that debate going on. So you have, on the one side of things, you have the fracking companies, like the mining industries. The big players there, Quadrilla is the main one. On the other side of the thing, other side of the coin, you have the basically the lobbyists. So the main group there is Frack Off. So these are the guys that when Quadrilla wants to set up a site, they're the ones that are usually there protesting, and that's where the conflict is coming from.
Right.
The main politician involved with the fracking in England is the guy George Osborne, the Chancellor George Osborne.
Okay.
So he basically has the say in whether or not fracking is going to go ahead. So he's given Quadrilla these kind of test sites. So like it's not full swing like it is in America. They have these test sites, and then George Osborne is working with Quadrilla and basically trying to get the country on his side to make sure that fracking goes ahead. Because at the moment, the lobbyists are kind of almost winning, right? Because when you talk to people about fracking in England, they usually go, "Oh, isn't that bad technology that's like going to ruin all the water?" And they maybe haven't had as much information as they need to make an informed decision. So the lobbyists are almost on the side of where they're going to win. Do you know what I mean? I mean, George Osborne has already had loads of trouble from it. I mean, he's been egged and stuff. You know that classic, the politician walks down the road and someone throws an egg at him. But Quadrilla, at the moment they have their test sites and they're looking to expand basically. So they're the big players in the game at the moment. You have much smaller ones like individual area-based lobbyist groups. So say a group will try to set up a site in a certain area and they will have their own anti-fracking movement. But Frack Off is international over the whole of England, and Quadrilla is the biggest one, and it's the one in England at the moment that is the only one to have the right to frack in England at the moment. So there's no other company that has that right.
So it's very much a two-sided.
Yeah, so it's a lot more simple than America. You have Quadrilla and you have the lobbyists in the battle with George Osborne calling the shots. So
yeah, man. Sounds like a rough sort of battle.
Well, it is rough for George Osborne, you know.
Exactly.
He's got like, you know, he's bang in the middle. I'm not a huge fan of George Osborne, I'll be honest, but
yeah.
But yeah, he's doing it.
But it's unfortunate that, yeah, like you say, the public interests have been swayed by these groups who may have not been presenting information that's necessarily 100% accurate. Is that correct?
Precisely, yeah.
Right. So we've talked about the different groups, that is, the key participants within England. There seems to be some interesting messages being sent from these groups, and there's also like some Hollywood celebrities, I believe, getting involved. Some English celebrities, which are, like you say, contradicting the issues at play here and the information, sort of getting it all swayed. So have you come across any of these misconceptions?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, there's battle going on between both the sides. So obviously both sides are going to maybe kind of use, like, not lies, but, you know, what would you call it? Like, they're going to try and make them sound like they're right in any kind of sort of way. So when you go onto the Quadrilla website, they have pictures of, like, blue drops of water and stuff, and just making it look really clean. But then when you go over to the anti-frack websites, it's a completely different story. You've got like black like drops. So you know, they both kind of are using a little bit of bias. So how I found it when I first started investigating into fracking was the actual scientific, you know, peer-reviewed papers that actually gave you the hard facts without any sort of the kind of
stuff that can't be as disputed, right?
Yeah, precisely. Like, this is peer-reviewed sort of material, and that's what I worked from. Anyway, it was interesting to read the misconceptions. For example, the common one is that obviously because you drill so deep, you go through the aquifer. So obviously, if anything leaks into the aquifer, it can obviously affect people's drinking water.
Right.
But then you'll have the people who work for the fracking industries, which say there's no known cases of this happening, which is true. There's been no actual, this has happened right here, this has come from a fracking.
These are risks.
I mean, if fracking is done completely correctly, there is no risk. Like, as in, when I say no risk, I mean, like, obviously there's always a risk with mining industries, but at this point in time, there hasn't actually been any incidents where anything bad has gone wrong from fracking. But in America, they have what they call methane water. I don't know if you've heard about this or seen the videos. It's quite an interesting video. You have people turning on their taps in America where supposedly near fracking sites, and they bring an open flame to the water and it ignites.
Right,
because they're saying there's too much natural gas and it's come from the fracking.
Right.
But then sometimes when you go actually a bit deeper into those stories, you find out that those areas have always had methane in their water long before fracking. So it's one of those things where you kind of, if you really want to get the real picture, you have to kind of do your research, because people will post these videos and these kind of scare tactics. What other ones are there? The biggest one is the water. Obviously, another big one is the trucks that go around. So obviously spillages, because people, it's reasonable to worry about that sort of thing in your area. Like it's your area, it's where you live. You don't want to.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to.
No,
it's been my
exactly. Yeah, no one wants that. But the big part is that like there's trucks with chemicals passing through these areas all the time. It's America. It's a big industrial place. And it seems almost like fracking has had, because it's new and like it's had its fair share of slack, whereas the other mining industries that have been going on for years, it's kind of almost like the risks that they have been forgotten about. Like, you search the other mining industries, you can see pictures of the water that's nearby. It's like, it's so yellow and toxic. And they almost seem to have gone under the radar, and like fracking's kind of taken the hot seat and all the heat basically. Like, I would say in general the industry, that sort of industry, does come with risks. It's just weighing up whether the risk is worth the reward. In my opinion, the risk is worth the reward, but I can see where the lobbyists are coming from in terms of that's their home, that's their area. They want to make sure that if this goes ahead, that it's completely safe.
Okay, well, that would be understandable.
Completely. I mean, the difference in England and America as well is obviously America is a huge country, and England is much smaller with a much higher density population. So
right.
obviously
so it ends up being a lot closer to home.
Yeah, and it affects a lot more people. So when they're doing it in the northwest of America, you have these people that live out in the kind of countryside, and obviously their opinion is just as important as everyone else's, but obviously there's a lot less people there. If, for example, it affected the drinking water and the aquifers in the English areas, there would be a lot of people affected. So they need to make sure that it's safe if it was to go ahead.
There's a few things to consider there.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, they're completely different scenarios between the two continents.
Awesome. So thanks for sharing that. And so, Tom, I'd like to really find out a bit more about some of the new technologies that are happening within the field and some of the innovations there. So
yeah, sure. Basically, with fracking, how I designed the treatment systems that I was looking at was taking a mixture of the old systems that have been used in the mining industry quite a lot, mixed in with some fracking-specific industry technologies to create a chain of technologies. But basically, some of the new technologies that are coming around are the ones that actually try and combine all of that outside of the chain. But what I found is that although these technologies usually removed a lot of the stuff from the water, it wasn't always perfect. There's always some contaminants that may not have been considered by these processes. So using just one of these fracking-specific ones, combination ones, was usually I found not enough. So I looked at both using those ones as well in the chain as well. One of the more interesting technologies that I was looking at during my research was membrane technologies. They've taken off a lot recently because of the countries that are going through droughts and stuff like that. So you're talking Arab countries like Dubai or United Arab Emirates. Right. And they use those because they don't have much rainfall and they need to use the seawater. And these membrane technologies can remove pretty much everything down to the ions from the water. The problem is, obviously, to have this amazing technology, obviously, is very expensive. But the interesting thing about it is that you can have different membrane sizes, so obviously the more you want to remove, the more expensive it becomes. But that technology, I would say, is the most innovative at the moment in terms of like what people are putting money into and what's going to be huge, I reckon, down the line. Because obviously when a technology is around for a while, it becomes cheaper, people use it more, and I think that's definitely the most interesting one, because in fracking, obviously you want to remove it so it's safe for the water course, which membrane technology can definitely provide. But there are obviously elements of stuff that may pass through the membranes that they're still worried about. But if you could use that within one of those chains that I was speaking about, that would definitely be an interesting avenue that they should explore, I believe.
Oh, thanks for that, Tom.
Yeah.
And it sounds like there's some really exciting stuff happening with them.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Great. And thank you very much for being with us today on the show.
Thanks, sir.
And for anyone who's interested, all the links and all the sites that Tom's talked about within this interview will be posted in the blog description below. So if you want to check that out, you can.
Yeah.
And as well, make sure you do subscribe below to this video if you want to see more about clean tech innovation and renewable energy.